On the 15th of February 1976, 12-year-old Mark Douglas Stebbis of Ferndale was supposed to be returning to his home from the American Legion Hall. While his family was waiting for him to come back, something gruesome would happen along the way, which started a series of unfortunate events. Mark never returned home, and his family was increasingly getting concerned. The wait grew longer, and his family became more tense, prompting them to contact the authorities. 4 days later, the child's body was found desecrated, laying in a heap of dirt and wood in the parking lot of a local office building in Southfield. He was strangled to death and sexually abused with a foreign object. He had 2 lacerations to the left rear of his head. The boy was bound during his painful captivity, as indicated by the rope marks on his wrists and ankles. This kind of a brutal case, especially against a minor, was unheard of in the 70s. The Zodiac Killer was out there terrorizing California at the time, but the police knew that they were dealing with a petty, self-obsessed serial killer. But this was a monster no one had seen in a long time. The police tried to find the perpetrator to the best of their abilities, but due to the limited tracing techniques and restrictions in DNA technology, they had no luck. Mark was buried in Rochester Hills, Oakland County. Despite the police's best efforts, unfortunately the monster would strike again, this time another 12-year-old child named Jill Robinson. Jill was a very bright child, and even in her younger years, it was apparent she would grow up to become someone important. But the ones who knew her personally also stated that she might have these pre-teen mood swings sometimes. On December 22nd, Jill was spending some time in the kitchen with her mother, Carol Robinson. Eventually in that afternoon, the two reached an argument. Carol asked Jill to help her make biscuits, but Jill said no. Jill refused to make biscuits with her mother and was told to get out. Following this, Jill was very emotional. Obviously, children get easily agitated and may make big decisions without supervision. The trait of having sudden mood swings also played a factor. She hastily packed a blue knapsack with a blanket and cosmetics and ran away from her home in Royal Oak, Michigan. It's also important to note that Jill's parents were divorced, and she usually spent Wednesdays at her father's place. But on this particular day, Jill's father, Tom Robinson, had some other plans which didn't allow him to spend time and look after Jill for the day. And that was the day Jill was seen alive for the last time. Her bicycle would be found the next day behind a local hobby store, but no trace or evidence of Jill could be found anywhere near. That Christmas, Jill's presence remained untouched under the family's Christmas tree, as her devastated family actively searched for her alongside authorities. But on December 26th, so the very next day after Christmas, her body would be eventually found by a motorist alongside Interstate 75 in Troy, within view of the Troy police station. Her body was lying in the snow in a ditch. The poor child was shot in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun. The top of her skull was blown off. This was a rare occasion, as the killer's mode of murdering his other victims was normally strangulation. It is likely that Jill survived or fought back her attacker as she was getting smothered, prompting the killer to shoot her with a shotgun. It was determined that she had been dead no more than a day. Her body was fully clothed, and she had the blue knapsack that she packed with her too. Autopsy reports revealed that Jill was fed and cared for at least 3 days before she was eventually killed. One cannot imagine the horrors she must have faced during that agonizing time period. By this point, authorities were on high alert in the Oakland County area. This was the second murder involving a child, and it took place in the same approximate area. They realized they could be dealing with a potential serial killer. Their suspicions would be 100% proven correct when a third murder took place in the January of next year, just a few days after the harrowing incident involving Jill Robinson. Christine Mary Mihalich, a 10-year-old child from Berkeley, was reported missing on January 2, 1977. She had went to a 7-Eleven convenience store on the 12-mile road at Oakshire. It had been several hours till she had left, and her parents immediately filed a missing persons report. The search would continue for a long time, but to no avail. That is, until 19 days later, a mail carrier found her fully clothed body on the side of a rural road in Franklin Village. Just like the majority of the killer's other victims, she was smothered to death, and her body was laid out in a way as if the killer was taunting the residents of Franklin Village, because the body was visible to the people living in the nearby homes. It was determined that she was killed 24 hours prior to her body being discovered. Despite the intense manhunt by the police up to this point, the killer was still not found. The killer would yet again strike one more time with a confirmed kill, this time of 11-year-old Timothy John King. On the evening of Wednesday, March 19, 1977, Timothy borrowed 30 cents from his older sister and left his home in Birmingham with his skateboard in hand to buy candy at a drugstore nearby on Maple Road. It was 8:30 p.m. approximately when he had left the house. Timothy entered the store, got what he needed, and went back out. He left the store from the rear entrance, which opened up to a parking lot shared with another supermarket, and then he vanished. That was the last time he was seen alive. After he failed to return home, another intensive search covering the Detroit metropolitan area was conducted. Call it the officer's bad luck, laziness, or just the twisted choices of fate, but the child's body was yet again found by someone other than the authorities, which heavily impacted their image. The murders had occurred 4 times now, and the police still didn't have any leads. Timothy's body was discovered by 2 teenagers in a car after they noticed his body in a shallow ditch alongside Gill Road, about 300 feet south of 8 Mile Road in Livonia, just across the county line in Wayne County. His skateboard was placed next to his body. Strangely though, his clothing had been neatly pressed and washed. The postmortem showed that Timothy had eaten fried chicken before he was slain. Before Timothy's body was found, in a heartbreaking television appeal, his father, Barry King, begged the abductor to release his son unharmed. In a letter printed in the Detroit News, Marion King, his mother, wrote that she hoped Timothy would come home soon so she could serve him his favorite meal, Kentucky Fried Chicken. The perpetrator, apart from being a sadistic killer, was taunting the grieving parents by feeding their child fried chicken before eventually killing him. Apart from these 4 confirmed kills, there are other highly suspected victims who are thought to be slain by the same Oakland County child killer. These include 17-year-old Donnie Sarah, 13-year-old Jane Louise Janie Allen, and a 12-year-old Kimberly Alice Kim King. All these children were murdered gruesomely, ranging from the strangulations to even carbon monoxide poisoning. These 4 killings prompted the Oakland County Police to begin a murder investigation, which was the largest investigation in the U.S. history at the time. Both print and radio medias were extensively covering this topic. By that point, official reports were released warning that a serial killer was most probably operating in the Oakland County area. The Michigan State Police led a group of law enforcement officials from 13 communities across Oakland County for the formation of a task force solely devoted to investigate the killings of the 3 initial children and finding out the perpetrator behind them. I have to end the video now. Unfortunately, due to limitations in both time and resources, I'm going to turn the whole documentary into 2 parts, this one being the first. The second one will be released soon. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell notification so you can be notified when it releases. And make sure to share this video with your friends because I'm a new channel and just starting out, and I need all the help and support that I can get. Sorry for ending the video on a cliffhanger, but we will see what happens next in the next video. As always, safety and peace.